Greetings and welcome back to Room 303 in our chats with Emily as we are calling our readings through the poetry of Emily Dickinson. We are in the Johnson edition and we turn now to another gift poem, number 440, "'Tis Customary as We Part." Now, again, this is another gift poem, as we'll sometimes reference it. In other words, Emily was a great gift giver. Now, we've sometimes argued that Emily's got a certain kind of demanding generosity. In other words, in many of the poems where she's gifting, she almost seems to be demanding a certain kind of reciprocal response of a type. Her energy and her dynamism is always present in these poems. We don't know who this poem was gifted to. We're going to assume that maybe there was some clematis that was a little sprig of clematis or bloom of clematis that was included as part of the letter. We've seen this already in a number of those other poems. A traveling pal is probably our guess, although she does use the word lover in this poem. Our assumptions are that you've been following our stuff at learnstrong.net, down that left-hand side, Chats with Emily, our playlist. I'm hopeful that you've worked through our set of introductory comments. I'm hopeful that you've worked through the preceding 439 poems. We just finished with 439, Undue Significance. Now, we know Emily's love of flowers. We know Emily's love of gifts. The only time she'll mention clematis in all of her poetry is in this poem. She says it this way: "'Tis customary as we part, a trinket to confer. It helps to stimulate the faith when lovers be afar. 'Tis various as the various taste. Clematis, journeying far, presents me with a single curl of her electric hair." Of course, the idea of giving away a bit of a lock of hair is being kind of one of the potential gifts to a departing lover is an old motif. Of course, it's also played in Alexander Pope's Rape of the Lock, as we've given lectures at learnstrong.net. The notice "'tis customary" is followed by "'tis various." "'Tis customary as we part." Again, we don't know who the we of this poem is. "A trinket to confer." Trinket was used for the first time in poem 12, you'll recall, and it will be involved in 9 of her poems. Of course, amulet was 438, you'll remember. To confer, in other words, it's normal to give something to someone when you part from them. It helps to stimulate the faith. It's interesting that the word stimulate can have both theological as well as obviously erotic kinds of intonations. The faith when, notice capitalized, lovers be afar. And we've seen this. We've seen this with Sam Boyles. We've seen this with a number of folks. "'Tis," now she'll say various, and then dash, "as various as the various taste." In other words, different trinkets work for different people. And then she'll mention clematis. By the way, clematis, as one name of clematis was Traveler's Joy. So it makes sense that she would say journeying far. And of course, Emily is in some ways kind of tapping into that very, very old motif of Homer's Odyssey and the idea of taking the journey or going away. And obviously, Odysseus' longing is to return to Ithaca, and obviously is Penelope, right? Presents, journeying far, presents me. So notice, it's interesting, the sprig that she'll, this blossom maybe of clematis that was shared. By the way, clematis only used this one time. Presents me with a single curl of her electric hair. In other words, there is a way to hold on to the memory. And of course, we've seen this so regularly in Emily. The longing to remember, to not forget. Notice at 2a then, a message here is, it is hard to be apart from a pal, and trinkets can help with the memory of that. At 2b, we don't know who this poem is for. Again, we call our series Chats with Emily. We would love, hey, how about 440? Who are you like referencing as the departed lover, the journeying lover? Were you the Penelope for some Odysseus that would hopefully return? At 3a, well, as we've mentioned, all of Emily's other gift poems, but I want to take us to the one mentioned in 4 quartets, T.S. Eliot's Burnt Norton 4. We've given full lectures on all the 4 quartets, but these lines will, I think, somehow connect for us. "Time and the bell have buried the day. The black cloud carries the sun away. Will the sunflower turn to us? Will the clematis stray down? Bend to us, tendril and spray, clutch and cling, chill. Fingers of you be curled down on us After the kingfisher's wing has answered light to light and is silent, the light is still at the still point of the turning whirl. It is interesting to think about the ways, possibly, that T.S. Eliot was influenced by Emily Dickinson. Finally, at 3B, what was a trinket that you've given to a pal? What was a trinket that you've received from a pal? And what about Emily's poems is a form of a trinket, or a clematis for that matter? Thank you.